PowerBoat Television is brought to you by Yamaha, revs your heart. Ford F-Series, smart, tough, capable. And Cruisers Yachts, manufacturing world-class boats.
This is PowerBoat Television, and that sweet sound you're hearing is Sudbury, Ontario's own Larry Berrio. And that is exactly where we're headed this week for Larry's annual Berrio on the Sandbanks concert on beautiful Lake Wanapitei in northern Ontario.
When most people think of Sudbury, they probably think of mining. The city's been one of the world's largest producers of nickel, zinc, lead, and gold for more than 100 years. But it's also home to this guy, Larry Berrio. Larry's been touring the country for close to 2 decades, singing about things like snowmobiling, ATVing, and just generally loving life. Now he's invited us up to help him do just that at his free, one-of-a-kind boat-in concert on Lake Wanapitei. If there's a better place to watch a country music show, I haven't found it yet. To get there, we're going past the Big Nickel, past the Inco Superstack, deep into the heart of God's country. It was an effortless trip up to Wanapitei First Nation, to Rockies, our home base for the next few days.
We are a full-service marina, restaurant, gas bar, convenience store. We're open 7 days a week currently.
They also have a bunch of cabins and a trailer park, which is handy because it can get pretty busy here all year long.
During the winter on the weekends, we have about 200 to 300 sledders from the States and everywhere. They come in from all over. The summer is all the boaters, the fishing on the lake, and going to the sandbanks where you guys will be going tomorrow.
And this is Rocky, the Rock Ness Monster. And according to Wanapitei First Nation legend, he lives in a system of caves some 460 feet below the surface of Lake Wanapitei. And they say on a calm day, if you keep your eyes peeled, you might be able to see his tail splashing above the surface. And who knows, maybe that's how Larry Berrio will ride in when he comes to rock the sandbanks in a couple of days.
For now, he's riding with us to show us all around this big body of water, which can be a monster in itself. Sudbury is home to over 300 lakes, more than any other city in North America, and Wanapitei is its biggest. In fact, it's the largest lake anywhere in the world that's completely contained within the boundaries of a single city. Named for the Ojibwe word for tooth-shaped water, it's 14 kilometers across at its widest point, and that means waves can whip up quick. Thankfully, our Princecraft Vectra 21 was up to the task. And with the sport configuration, the Vectra is a beauty. A third log for extra stability, lifting strakes for better handling, and the underdeck spray shield stops waves from slamming up onto the bottom of the deck. The perfect ride for cruising the lake, and it'll make one heck of a luxury box for the concert. With Larry and a couple local guides, we set out to explore a little bit before the show. Just down the shore from the sandbanks at the far northwest corner of the lake is the mouth of the Wanapitei River. Deceptively wide, the river's flooded by a hydroelectric dam at the other end of the lake, so there's a narrow channel that has to be followed to avoid running aground. We snaked our way up a couple miles before we found a good bay to drop a line in.
How much influence does being out here, being outdoors, fishing, boating, all that kind of stuff have on your music?
A lot, and that's pretty well generally what I write about. Wrote a lot about, gearhead stuff. My song Rocktown is dedicated to the miners.
Yeah.
My dad was a miner, and uncles and friends and all that kind of stuff. So I like to write about kind of like that blue collar type person.
For sure.
that's
Stuff that people can relate to.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You got to come up with new marketing ideas to market yourself as an artist. And that's why we do the Sandbank show.
I was gonna say that must be where the Sandbanks comes in.
Exactly.
So before a concert, do you feel like you have to wind down or relax at all? Because this must be just about as good as it gets for you.
Well, this was nice and relaxing, I got to tell you. Before I do a show, any show, you always get those butterflies before you play. And they say when you lose that, you're not passionate about it anymore, right? I have my traditional little shot of Grand Marnier before I hit the stage.
There you go.
That's something that I've done with my dad over the years, and ever since I lost him 4 years ago to cancer. I don't know, it's just kind of like a little cheers for me, a little tradition. And
For sure.
I think of my dad there every time I hit the stage. And then usually I'll meet up with the guys in the band and pump each other up and like, let's rock the house.
Hearing about the show got me so excited, I didn't even mind that we didn't catch any fish. Not that it was our fishing guide Pete's fault, of course.
I said I'd promise you a good day, but I wouldn't promise you any fish. You can't force the fish to bite.
We hugged the shoreline, sticking to its dozens of calmer bays until we got around to the sandbanks on the North Shore. Quiet now, but tomorrow, this is where it's all going down.
So this started off 4 years ago. This is our 4th year doing it. And it was my wife's cousin, Lori. And they live up at the other end of the lake up in Skeed. And her and her husband took us out in a boat. She goes, Larry, she's got to bring you to this place called the Sandbanks. And I said, I'm familiar with it, but in the wintertime, I snowmobile on this lake. And we came up here, and this is just absolutely spectacular because you can walk out about 100 yards and you're still waist deep. We got a barge donated to us from Rockies, and we bring up the barge right up as tight as we can to the sandbank and secure it so we're not bouncing around in the waves and everything. It's just been growing and growing every year, and this year we're probably anticipating a couple hundred boats.
That's awesome, man. I'm psyched. I'm glad you brought us out.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so excited you guys are here because we're going to have one heck of a good time.
Exciting.
Coming up later in the show, Larry takes the stage, and he brings along a special guest.
It's unbelievable how this hull tracks in rough water. The GP1800R SVHO is like the R1 of personal watercraft. But what if you don't need a supercharged engine? Well, until now, you'd have to buy a VXR to get that hull. But in 2020, you can get a GP1800R HO, which is the same 1.8-liter engine, naturally aspirated. Now, before you think the HO engine without the supercharger doesn't have enough juice, think again. This thing flies.
And just like the Supersport R1 motorcycle, the GP1800 is Yamaha's Supersport watercraft, which means it's light, fast, and nimble.
It's unbelievable how this hull tracks in rough water. You can be straight on the wave or even hit it at an angle. It doesn't matter. You're not dodging and fighting the rear end all the time. Just incredible.
Well, this is the same lightweight Nano XL 2 hull and deck that allowed Yamaha to capture the top 5 places in the US Aquacross Pro-Am 200 class.
Wow. The most amazing thing is you can crank those turns even when it's bumpy. Not only will this thing turn when it's flat, it'll turn like crazy even when it's rough without being unpredictable or trying to throw you off. Just proof that all those years of racing's paid off.
At the heart of the new HO is Yamaha's bulletproof 1.8-liter engine. Yamaha wouldn't confirm an official horsepower number, but if it owns the 200 class,
There's no lag, tons of power, comes over the hole like gangbusters. At the end of the day, when you go to put fuel in it, you're not going to be putting as much fuel as you would a supercharged boat. And yet still, you have tons and tons of power.
we did see 60 miles per hour on the Dreamometer, which is probably good for all but the 1%ers.
You know, this might have the race hull. I tell you what, it's an extremely comfortable boat. I mean, look at how much seat sculpting you have. This is the kind of hull you can go cruising on for 6, 7, even 8 hours at a time. I'd have no problem doing that.
After fooling around for a while, it was time to head back to the dock. With the sun giving us decent light, we wanted to check out a few features and the latest accessory bag.
Like most of the deluxe boats, you're going to get the Yamaha swim step.
which is an awesome little feature for reboarding. Finally, Yamaha's coming out with some watercraft accessories, and this is their latest bag, which looks awesome and has a waterproof bag inside. The whole thing detaches if you want to bring it inside, and if you notice here on the side, there's little rod holders as well. In fact, there's one on each side, so you can have 2 rods with this little kit. But for me, it just matches the design of the boat so well. It just looks perfect. And you're not really taking up any space at the back of the boat.
If I could add something, it would be Yamaha's Connect color multifunction display. Unfortunately, the Connect system is only found on the luxury models at this time.
And like all Yamahas now, the GP1800 RHO still has the ride system. And I just love that system. It's so intuitive. Use the right trigger to go forward and the left trigger for reverse. But also, if you've got to steer off throttle, it's not a problem. Some boats, when you steer and you're off the throttle, you got nothing. But the ride boats, you can still steer even without throttle. Woo! No throttle steering.
No cruise or wake assist on the GP. For that, you have to go with an FX Cruiser. I wouldn't mind a cruise for longer excursions, but I'd live without it to get this Supersport haul.
The sport configuration that we have here on our test boat gives us that third log. It feels like we're floating on a cloud. For 2020, Princecraft has added a rear lounger layout to its popular 21-foot Vectra model to bring us the Vectra 21 RL. It can be as simple and practical and affordable as you like it, or you can trick it out with plenty of options that make for a great family boat for a nice day out on the water. We'll take a look at this new layout in a minute, but first, let's get a feel for how she runs.
The Vectra 21 RL is 21 feet 6 inches long with an 8.5-foot beam. Our test model came decked out with the sport configuration, which includes the half-third log, underdeck spray shield, lifting strakes, and the bigger fuel tank. It also allows for a power package of up to 150 horsepower. You get about as much power as you need for a 21-foot pontoon with the Mercury 115 Pro XS engine that we had on our test model. But it would still be cool to see what you could get out of the 150 Merc. Still, with a test weight of just under 2,000 pounds, we were able to get on plane in about 3.5 seconds and hit a top speed of 37 miles per hour. We cruised comfortably around 25 or 26 miles per hour.
And I do mean comfortably. The sport configuration that we have here on our test boat gives us that third log for improved stability, makes it nice and smooth as we're crossing waves. It feels like we're floating on a cloud, exactly what you want in a pontoon boat. And all that is amplified by the furniture that we have on board.
Seating is one of the most important aspects of any pontoon boat, and up front in the Vectra 21 RL are 2 big and incredibly comfy chaise lounges with heavyweight plush upholstery. A deluxe bucket seat for the captain is another premium option that ups the ante when it comes to fit and finish.
But the main attraction from the layout of the Vectra 21 RL is what gives it its name, this great big rear lounger back here. And this thing was apparently requested in the 21 because it's been in the 23 and the 25 for a couple years now. But it is an excellent addition to the layout. You could fit almost the whole family with the backrest that leans forward or aft, so you could watch the kids swim, or you could come around and join in some nice conversation in this dinette layout as well.
A great big storage compartment under the lounger also gives you the option for a privacy enclosure or a head, and the stainless steel safety bar can be added to let you take advantage of the lounger while underway with easy access in and out.
And the dinette package rounds out with this nice big passenger seat, which also has a backrest that faces forward or aft. Could use a locking mechanism, but it's actually a little more solid than it looks. Plus, a nice big cooler that drains directly into the water.
The other seats on board open up with cavernous roto-molded storage to fit gear for the 10 people the boat's rated for. And I love the fencing that's been raised right up to the railing for 2020. which closes the boat in and gives it a more completed look. The spring in the bow gate lets it snap back into position and keeps it from bouncing open. Other key options on our test boat were the stainless steel tow bar, console door, bimini top, and the mood package, adding a snack table in the bow as well. The helm rounds out the simplicity and functionality of the rest of the boat with its molded dash panel with toggle switches, speedo, tack, and trim gauges. The quick-release windscreen allows for protection from the elements while being easy to clean. And for music lovers, the 160-watt AM/FM Bluetooth stereo can be upgraded to the 200-watt option as well.
So if you're searching for the right pontoon boat for your family, the Vectra 21 RL can come simple enough that it's nice and affordable, or you can pack on a lot of these cool options and get it up into that mid-range. Either way, it's definitely one that I think you should be taking a look at if you're in the market for a pontoon boat this season.
If you like to anchor frequently, especially overnight, there are a few things that can really give you peace of mind. The most obvious is a good anchor that can hold in a blow, and we've shown just how great these Vulcan anchors can be. But there are a few other bits that connect your anchor to your boat that are sometimes overlooked. Today, on my boat, we're going to upgrade this anchoring system to all-chain rode. Before placing an order, you need to check the dimensions of your windlass gypsy. Order the wrong spec chain, and it will either jam or skip. Most of these top-mount Lumars run a 5/16" gypsy in North America. Fortunately, Titan makes an ISO high-test G43 spec chain. Now, swapping out a heavy anchor and rode is probably best done when the boat's still on the hard. But if you're like me and you do your best thinking while floating, your boat might already be in the water. So you gotta plan ahead a little. We could put the dinghy in and drop all the chain and rode into the dinghy. Or we could just turn the boat around, overhang the dock, and do it right on the dock. To make life easy, we borrowed a wheelbarrow to stake all this chain and rode into. The nylon is pretty tough, but over time it can get a bit moldy. If you notice a funny smell coming from the anchor locker, you've just discovered another benefit of all-chain rode, especially if your anchor locker adjoins a stateroom. The chain weighs over 300 pounds, so we've got a little fandangling to do. Now this is galvanized 5/16. In fact, it's hot dip galvanized, but you're still gonna get a bit on your hands, so some gloves just help keep your hands clean while you're handling all that chain. Sorry, Maverick. Position the new chain below the windlass and be sure to kill the breaker before feeding the first bit through manually. A moving windlass, chain, and fingers do not play well together. Once we get a little bit of it down there, we can tie it onto the wood block at the other end, and then we'll use the windlass to carry the rest of it. This block won't fit through the deck if you accidentally pay out too much chain. But it is also important to tie it off with something you can easily cut if you have to let it go in an emergency. Now you can use the windlass to feed most of the remaining chain into the locker. One great thing about chain is its tendency to self-pile with minimal tangling. With a few feet left on the dock, we set about securing the anchor. All Titan chains are built with precision links, but they do come in a couple of different strengths. You can get G30, G40, and this is the high-test G43 that has a working load limit of 1,770 kilograms or 3,900 pounds. Now, there's no point in getting the high-test chain if you don't also get a high-test shackle. Now, the standard shackle is still fully compliant, but only has a working load limit of 2,200 pounds. They do have a black pin shackle, though, that has a working load limit of 4,400 pounds, much more than just this 5/16 chain. So it's important to match the appropriate shackle to the appropriate chain. So why bother with all-chain rode? It's not for holding power. That's a bit of a myth. Sure, any chain on the bottom provides some holding power, but when the wind really picks up, zero chain will be in contact with an even bottom. The real benefit of chain is abrasion resistance on rocky or coral-laden seabeds. It doesn't take long for a sharp rock to cut or weaken nylon rode. So if you can't see the bottom, or you know there are rocks down there and you want to sleep at night, you might want to consider all-chain rode.
Back on Lake Wanapitei in Sudbury, Mother Nature has definitely cooperated for Larry Berrio's concert today over at the Sandbanks. Loaded up on the barge that would double as the stage, Larry and his crew made the 2.5-mile ride from Rockies to the Sandbanks to set up the morning of the show. Larry had warned us the turnout would be impressive, and sure enough, plenty of time to go before a note was even played. Already, boats were rafting up in front of the sandbanks. Larry told us this whole idea came from his cousin Lori, who has a cottage on the other side of the lake. She thought the sandbanks would be the perfect spot for a show, and Larry would be the perfect guy to play it.
I think it's just because people can get out of their boats. I like that everybody can go up to the stage, be here, be involved in your bathing suits. Like, what kind of concert would you do that in?
Doubled, I think, just in terms of popularity this year, so it's really awesome.
Being able to watch him while I'm having fun in the water, like, it's such a nice day and I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the performance.
One of the coolest parts about this concert, besides the obvious, of course, is that Larry puts on the show completely free of charge for the folks who make it out. So along with the sponsors who help make it possible, this year he collected contributions from the fans in the form of raffle tickets. Larry announced that one lucky winner would be cruising home with a pretty sweet door prize with a familiar logo front and center.
For a small donation from every boater, we're going to give them a ticket, and you get a chance to walk away with this beautiful custom electric guitar. Special thanks to the Guitar Clinic for doing this for us, man. This is awesome. Our 4th year running. Somebody's walking over this baby.
This is a telecopy, and the good thing about it is it's really appropriate because it's seafoam green. It's got Larry's logo on the front, it's got my logo on the back. Whoever wins it is going to walk away with a real prize.
After Larry's announcements, it was finally time to rock.
Put in a long week, sweating in a factory, swinging that hammer, plowing them fields, pushing that pedal down, making an honest living. They keep taking, you keep giving. Well, this is Friday night, this is our time to let it all hang out. Cut the dust, kicked off the rust like a cowboy does at the end of the day. With long neck bottles and whiskey doubles, come on, saddle up, cut the dust.
Larry puts on one heck of a show. By the time the band went on, there were more than 200 boats in attendance. Absolutely nuts. Don't believe anyone who tells you this wasn't one of the best parts of their summer.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the ticket number 872103. We got a winner over there. Look at this guy. Hasn't got off the pontoon boat all day, and he just did a complete cartwheel off of that damn thing to get a guitar.
So with that, Berrio on the Sandbanks 4 had come to an end, and it was everything it was billed out to be. It's amazing the kinds of experiences boating can bring.
Larry, holy smokes, man, you know how to do it.
Oh, man, I'm still coming down, you know. Yeah, it's gonna take me a couple hours.
Oh, it's gonna take me a couple hours. I wasn't even playing.
Been standing in water for I don't know how long.
Unbelievable.
You want to sign your shirt?
Yeah, could you sign my chest?
Thank you.
Thanks for having us out, man. We had an absolute blast.
As I headed back home, exhausted after an incredible weekend at Lake Wanapitei, I couldn't help but think, man, what a ride.